Hey y'all, it's your girl Sarah
and Corra,
and we are a
truly wonderful pair.
Grab some wine and get comfy
as we journey through Wisteria Lane and all its insanity.
We will be watching Desperate Housewives for the first time through a modern day lens, and as a housewife fan myself, I feel like it's my duty to watch this series based on reality gold.
To recap last week's episode, Lynette teaches her kids a lesson. Gabrielle's affair with John, the teenage gardener, is getting too real for John. Bree and Rex start marriage counseling. Zach sees his dad, Paul, dig a deep hole in their pool. Little does he know, it's a small trunk that Paul wraps up and throws in a lake. We forgot to mention last week that the trunk isn't heavy enough to sink and is now floating in the water for anyone to find. Susan and Edie duke it out for Mike's attention. Mike shares that his wife passed a few years ago, but is it true since we saw he might be targeting Susan? Now, on to the next episode. Pretty little picture.
And we're back. So we start this episode off with a voiceover of Mary Ellis as we see her corpse being cremated. She is leaving behind all her earthly possessions and is crossing to the other side. As that's happening, her voiceover recounts her friendship with Bree Vanderkamp. There is a flashback of them two with their husbands at a dinner party or a double date. We see Bree wow the couples as Mary Ellis kind of observes her how Bree feels towards her husband, and then we pan to Bree in bed kind of tossing and turning. She can't sleep because obviously Rex is still sleeping on the couch, and to keep up appearances she wants Rex to move back upstairs, even though he's kind of resistant because they're still in marriage counseling. With how he's been sleeping, she's like, come on, just go upstairs. We don't want anyone to really pry into our lives, even though he really doesn't care. So he agrees, but we do see that Bree has been the one purposefully making it difficult for him to sleep. So she misses her husband and she wants him to come back upstairs, which is, understandable because you want to sleep with your husband. And then the next morning, everyone gets their paper and they realize the date is October 14th. Once Susan realizes the date, we get a flashback a month prior to all the ladies sitting down, and Mary Ellis had came up with the idea to host a dinner party. But obviously she had recently took her own life. So in a celebratory, like in memory of Mary, the ladies decide to still put the dinner party together, and Bree will host, obviously, as a great hostess she is. So they go over the head count of who's coming and how many are coming. They ask Susan who she wants to bring, and then conveniently we see Mr. Delfino jogging around the corner.
Yeah, it was a little weird when we see Mike because it's like he comes out of nowhere. And this is, by the way, while Susan is having an argument with her ex-husband Carl.
Not yet. This is just the girls. This is when he runs up. Yeah. Okay. So this is when he runs up while they're seeing who she's bringing to the date, and he's just jogging. He doesn't have the dog yet.
I'm very certain he's put some kind of tracker on her because
we know that he's obviously targeting her for some reason. So him now conveniently popping up in all these scenes where she's thinking about him. Yeah, this seems like he has a tracker on her. But I feel like it's also convenient because he does live down the street from her.
Yeah, this is also what does this take place in Syracuse? What kind of cul-de-sac? I've never seen a cul-de-sac that looks like a set. Obviously it's a studio lot.
Yeah,
it's pretty obviously, if you look at it, it's
a perfectly set lot.
And no suburbs on God's green earth. No suburban area
looks this perfect.
Yeah,
to the point where you're walking down the street and you can literally yell and your neighbor can hear you. No. Yeah. And then the way they be walking down the street, cars don't be coming down, when even in the most normal suburban area, there's at least 2 or 3 cars every hour at least. But
it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. So after the ladies agree to host a dinner party, each of them goes back to tell their husbands, hey, you want to come? First, Gabrielle asks her husband, who's always busy. He's like, oh, I have this thing. Work is busy, which is crazy because she needs to go to your events and look pretty for you. Right. But you can't come to a simple dinner party across the street, bro.
he could just show up in like a shirt. It doesn't even need a whole suit. He can just show up in like
it's just it's something for
like a button up and just a pants and a belt and just like his hair back. Like,
yeah, it doesn't have to be a big to do. It's just a dinner party with some friends. Like, come on. But obviously, in that regard of him blowing her off, she decides to call her gardener to come over after school. So gross.
It's so disgusting. Every part of her storyline, like, she's
like,
such a disgusting person. It's actually like really hard to watch the show.
And she even says, he even asked her, do you want me to leave my gym clothes on like normal? That is so weird. Like, even like when she called him and asked him where you are, and he was like, algebra. Ugh.
At least
algebra.
At least like this would still give me the ick, but like why couldn't she just wait until he was like 18 or something? I don't know.
Right, wait till like graduates high school. Even though it's still
like gross, but like that
high
would make
school.
Sense. Or
like graduate.
Can she not get with like a 19-year-old? That would be
at least 20,
disgusting.
Or he needs to drink alcohol or something.
But yeah, like at least if he was, like you said again, at least if he was out of high school, it would be less.
I'd be okay if he was a college student.
Because she would be a predator, yeah, but it wouldn't be like she's actually like, because technically speaking, this is like statutory rape. So
this really is.
This is statutory rape, but like.
Oof. So obviously she has her dude on the side, and then Lynette asks her husband to tag along, but he's always so busy, but he's not busy. He's not busy enough. Well, he's too busy to go to a dinner party, but he's not busy to sit down, have a glass of wine, and probably have sex again to give her another baby, which is like ridiculous. You want to sit at home and just have a nice glass of wine, but you can't even just go to a simple dinner party for your wife because you're just so busy.
Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit too. I mean, I think he would actually get along. If you're talking about business, like, he could strike up business with his neighbors, if anything, because I'm sure Tom and him would get along really well together.
You mean Carlos?
Carlos and Tom, yeah.
Yes, Carlos and Tom would get along because they're like businessmen. But the one thing that he did say that grinded my gears was, what did he say? He was like, you know how it is to work a 60-hour week, and then throws a banana peel at her as she's holding a basket of laundry. Dude, I would have busted your ass across the face. Like, what is you mean? You know how I work a 60-hour week? I'm sitting here taking care of your 4 children already. You try to put a 5th one in me? And then, like, that would have threw me off the edge. I don't know how she does it. I don't know why she's still with him, but that would have threw me off the edge.
I don't know why people do that thing of, like, having kids and then not being there. Like, what's the reason that he wants the kid other than knowing that, because he's not going to be there most of the time.
Like, does he even have a relationship with his sons currently? Like, when he came home the first episode, he brought home a football, but like, that was it. Did he was like, we'll play catch outside, but did he actually play catch outside with them? Like, in this scene, he's at the table, and I'm sure the other kids is running around. And then we see, who do we see? And then this is when we get to the scene of Susan getting her ex-husband Carl to watch her child for the night so that the ladies can have their dinner party. But obviously he's there with his mistress, the young secretary, she looks really young, honestly. She looks like she's freshly in college as well. So they're having an argument outside, and then not conveniently, but they're having an argument outside. The mistress decides to throw her trash, but it misses, and Susan is trying to stand her ground and be like, come pick your trash up. Obviously the husband is making it difficult, and they're having a little spat about it. And then he never picks it up because she kicks it out of the way. But she kicks it so far that it tumbles down the driveway, and guess who's standing there? Mike Delfino with his dog again. So yeah, he's obviously stalking Miss Susan, because now that he's popping up everywhere and we saw that he's targeting her, all the other moments that she's conveniently seeing him is now purposeful. Because what is you doing?
And not only that, but like also, this is super weird. Like, first of all, the conversation, the argument, I'm like, I get that she's trying to like stand her ground, but part of me is also like, could you just shut the hell up for a little bit? Because you're asking him, this guy who's never here, doesn't want to be around your daughter. Obviously he's kind of like a deadbeat. He doesn't want to take care of your daughter. You need him to take care of her, and in order for that to work in that moment, you kind of gotta, like, even if you want to stand your ground, kind of gotta not do that.
Yeah, I know she was being petty in that moment, which I get, because I would also be petty. Because in that moment, I would be like, girl, come pick up your trash. I'm not picking up your trash, especially since you're the mistress. I'm not picking up your trash. But to be the beggar person, I do see your point. It is to like, you do have a kid together.
She's right there. Like, you just need him to be for this one night. Just have her away from this moment.
Because that could have been the moment he was like, yeah, nah, you know what? Never mind.
I'm just drop her back off here. I don't need to take her.
Right. That's true. You need to learn to pick your battles. Obviously, the divorce is still fresh, but Susan has to learn when to pick and choose her battles with her ex-husband, especially when it comes to the kid, because he mentioned that he sent a check in the mail, even though she checked the mailbox and was like, I don't see no check. That means she has not taken him to child support, and she's relying on his word to send a check. In that case, take his ass to court so that the court will make sure his ass is paid. That's all I know.
Yeah, like because custody battles are everything, but also you want to avoid it because obviously you want to make sure that the other parent is doing what they need to. But realistically, when it comes to time periods, like our mom, when our father was like doing like shit like this, literally was like, okay, I'm not playing that. This isn't a game. You're gonna pay child support.
Exactly.
I'm taking care of these two kids by myself. I'm taking your ass to court. We're settling this for real. And this is kind of the attitude I feel like Susan should have. Just
right, because I'm not the only one made this child. You are partly in this, exchange. So you're gonna have to help me take care of this child.
Right.
So after we see Mike the stalker, the next scene is Paul and I forgot the son's name. Paul.
I think his name is Zach.
Zach. Paul and Zach are at the dinner table, and Zach has noticed that, or someone else brought it to Zach's attention, that his mother's obituary is not in the paper. And obviously, Paul is very, dismissive and standoffish about the topic. And Zach gets a little vindictive, and he's like, well, if you die, I'm not going to write your obituary. And it seems like Paul just doesn't care because he's still thinking about, the secrets that he's trying to keep from everybody.
We still really don't understand what's happening with them yet.
We don't, and it's a real mystery, and I'm trying to, because it ties into why Mary Ellis obviously took her own life and what it has to do with that letter that the ladies found. Now, after that, we see John coming home from school, obviously, with Gabrielle with their affair. And because they didn't take it into a private area and they're still in the little vestibule area, for some reason, there's a nosy child staring right in their door. And it's it's like a door in their front door. For some reason, I don't know why your front door has that many windows. And she's just staring there watching these two have an affair. And once Gabrielle notices and shoos her away, she runs off.
Yeah, like this is also one of those adages of like, at least because she's not like, I'm not sure how much white she is, but like this is the thing of like white people or people in like these areas never ever having blinds and never ever closing them.
Yes, making sure that you have some privacy, even if it's just like a light curtain, because even if she tries to look, she might not see what she can see because it's still a curtain. For your door to be that wide open and your business to be out there for the whole neighborhood, girl, that's on you, because you were being too sloppy.
Right, like if you're gonna have a blind every single one of your windows.
Yeah,
windows in front of your door, windows in front of everything, because you don't want people peeking into your house.
And this is how we get people like Mrs. Huber with her nosy ass.
Right, you don't ever want nosy people, and having that would totally prevent that whole situation from occurring.
Exactly. And then after she shoos away, we cut to the commercial. So we'll be back. And we're back. And the next scene,
we begin with Lynette and Tom.
Yes. So Lynette came back from the store. I think she developed some photos and realized that on his business trip, Tom has been partying with some of his associates. And she tries to use that to guilt trip him into coming to the dinner party. But instead she realizes, you know what, let him stay home with the kids for a change, and she go out and have a nice time.
Yeah, she kind of like gaslit him into like babysitting, and you can see that like this horrible scene of like he can't open a grape cup.
He just can't open a regular ass fruit cup.
Like those little fruit cups. What kind of Dole was it?
The
Dole?
Yeah.
Dole fruit cups. And it's like, even if you can't, like, when I was a kid, when I couldn't open that, I usually tried my teeth, and if I couldn't open that, I grabbed the fork.
But it was obviously intentional, because he didn't even know which side to open it up on. Like, sir.
He was trying to do that, like, not learned helplessness, but like, it's those things where men pretend like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Please help me. I'm a little baby boy, and it's like
trying to be a victim.
Right? Like he's a grown man. Like you know you can do that.
Exactly.
Why do you even need her that much?
You really don't. And then once she realizes, once she makes him the babysitter for the night, we go to the next scene with Gabrielle. And she's pulling up in her new Porsche. She sees Carlos talking to the little girl that just saw her kiss John. And at first, I thought maybe he hired the little girl to like spy on her, because clearly he wasn't confident in the gardener's work, especially in previous episodes. So I'm like, maybe he hired her to like spy on his wife. But really what it was, she just threw her ball in their yard and she didn't know how to say she wanted to get her ball back because she's just a weird child. She hasn't said anything ever since we've seen her on screen. She's been staring.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Staring at her.
So what is it after that? Oh, after that, we see Zach. What's it called? Zach is going through the garage, just looking through stuff, and he ends up finding the gun that Mary Alice used to unalive herself. The dad still kept it for some reason and like put it in the back of some things in the garage. And so Zach picks it up and examines it. Hopefully he doesn't do anything real with it. And then the next scene, we go to Bree and Rex still at marriage counseling. And at the request of Rex, Dr. Goldfine suggested they do private sessions. So they still use the time that they have scheduled. They're just going to break it up in half hours. So Rex will go first, and then Bree will go. And a part of them keeping up the appearances, they are lying about going to marriage counseling. So Bree came up with the excuse of they're going to tennis lessons. So as she's leaving the room, she literally picks up, I'm assuming, a tennis racket that she bought so she can keep up with the appearance. Which is great, because the fact that you bought a tennis racket just to go to therapy with, even though you're not going to use it, obviously she's going to come up with a reason of some way of like, oh, I'll use it in the future, and then it's going to collect dust in your garage. After that, we then see Gabrielle walk up to the little girl as she's playing on the street, and then this is when she tries to reason with her by buying her a little doll and trying to, like you said, come up with everybody kisses everybody, which I think is kind of crap because
it's so weird.
She saw you make out with him, and I'm sure you don't make out with your grandpa.
I feel like I don't think she should have just reasoned with her. I think she should have skipped straight to bargaining because that was not convincing.
Well, I feel like the bargaining was her giving her the doll. She was kind of like bribing-ish, I guess, with the doll. But after that, Gabrielle walks away, and then the little girl starts to utter a few words about possibly wanting a bike. So even though she doesn't talk at all, she has now realized that Miss Gabrielle is her cash cow and could use her for other cool things that she could buy for her. I mean, she's going to use Carlos's money anyway. So once the little girl realized she could use Gabrielle for other things, I'm sure she's going to ask for more. And then the next, we jump to, a scene at night where Paul is walking in the kitchen, and then you hear kind of like a revolving noise, like a spinning noise in the background. And then it pans to Zach sitting on the floor, kind of like spinning the revolver, and then confronting Paul about why he still kept the gun and insisting on them actually talking about the death, because it's a huge elephant in the room that they're not talking about. And as her son, he has the right to grieve his mother as well, no matter what the situation is. So I'm assuming he took the gun and kind of was just holding it in desperation of getting some answers from his father, since he can't get any answers from his mother. But just in the nick of time, there's a knock at the door, and guess who it is? Miss Bree Vanderkamp. Now let's figure out what she wants to know from the Youngs. So we find out why Bree went to the Youngs' house. She wanted to invite them over for their dinner party,
right?
Because they are having it in Mary Alice's honor. And just before Zach opened the door, his father mentioned him not taking some kind of medication. We don't know what it's for yet. But when Bree does invite them, he kind of just stares off and disassociates a bit. So we don't know if he's having an episode or if the medication is related to it. But
he takes the gun from his back.
Yeah, the dad comes in and declines their offer and takes the gun away from their son. But before Bree walks away, Zach then thanks her for remembering her mom, for remembering his mom,
Mary Alice,
because the husband, ever since she, took her own life,
he's been so nasty about it.
He's not just nasty, but he's been very dismissive and is acting as if she never existed. And that's not fair for the son, because obviously he had a close relationship with his mom and he wants to be able to grieve his mom properly. And then once Bree leaves, we go to the next scene. Go to the next scene of Gabrielle giving the bike to the little girl. And then the girl finally tells her that she doesn't know how to ride a freaking bike. So she kind of, it's either roped her, asked her, or now she gets roped in to teach this little girl how to ride a bike in her however many inch heels, which I don't know why she just walk in heels all day. I can never walk in heels all day. So once she agrees to help the little girl, we go to the next scene of Susan in her house. She's going through old photo albums and realizes she's cut his face out on a lot of these photo albums. And it's kind of sad because, maybe her daughter wants to reminisce on the good old days.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but she then calls him, right?
Yeah, she then, once she realizes, I should be the bigger person, she calls Carl, leaves him a voicemail so they can have a conversation about their co-parenting ship to, for it to be healthy for their daughter. After she leaves a voicemail, we then see Lynette getting ready for their dinner party later on. She's trying to give the rundown on dinner and what to feed the kids to her husband, but he's kind of just like blowing her off like, hey, these are my kids too, they're just boys, they're gonna eat food, yada yada. And so she feels like he doesn't have this, or he's being too blasé about it, and throws a wrench in his plan by feeding her children sugar after a certain time, which I feel is just going to bite her in the ass because she's going to have to put them down later on when she comes home.
I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I feel like that would have been fine just to leave him alone with them. Her doing that, it's like, do you have something to prove? Because he's not going to be able to take care of them.
Yeah, I feel like them already as they are, because they are a rambunctious group. He's already going to be he's already going to have a handful for the night. So just adding on them being souped up with sugar is just not going to be best for the two of you. And then we cut back to Gabrielle teaching the little girl how to ride a bike in her heels, and it looks like it's working out well. She doesn't know how to stop, but it's only day one of lessons. Can't learn. Rome wasn't built in a day. Mm-hmm. So the lessons are going pretty well, and Gabrielle's tired. So the girl's like, hey, we could keep going. What about tomorrow? And she's like, oh, well, don't you have school? And this is when we find out that little girl's homeschooled. So that's probably why she is just always around staring at people's doors, because she's home all the time. So I feel like Gabrielle has no excuse because she's home doing nothing all day as well.
I feel like the problem here is that I guess the story kind of wants to make you feel like, she shouldn't have to deal with this kid because of what she personally had to do, even though this is literally a repercussion of her actions. Mm-hmm. But this is a real opportunity for you to connect with this child. Not to say that she wants a child, but this kid's doing nothing all day. Mm-hmm. It's you can really help this kid ride a bike
and be more sociable, because obviously she seems antisocial if she can't even say hi to adults at an appropriate time.
Right. She could really help this kid out, but instead she's so selfish about this
and focusing on herself.
Right. It just feels like she wants to sleep with a young adult man who you could call a kid. John.
Yeah, he is a kid.
She wants to sleep with kids, but when she has the opportunity to actually help a kid out, she doesn't want to do that at all.
Exactly. It just makes no sense. It's so weird. So I feel like they've already agreed to the next day of bike lessons. Then we cut to Susan's house, and Carl shows up a day early. And for some reason, Susan answers the door in her towel.
Which is so inappropriate.
It really is inappropriate. Yes, it's your ex-husband, and he kind of barges himself in as we've been married 14 years. I've already seen it, which is that still doesn't matter.
It's disgusting.
I still don't want you in my home when I'm in an intimate, I'm in like a vulnerable moment here. But he barges his way in and forces her to kind of talk about what she wanted to talk about, which is evidently she never really got an apology from him for how she treated him. And this is kind of like, you know, Bill from Beyond the Gates, where I don't know if he ever had, I think that it took him a while to really apologize to Danny. But if you're going to like blow up a family like that, you at least have to acknowledge your part in doing so. And even though she brought that up to Carl, he's basically like, well, the heart wants what the heart wants, which I don't know what that means.
The problem isn't that he said it. The problem is that he said it as a response twice.
Yeah, twice.
If I was her, if he said it to me again,
I may have
just swung at him. Or
with no real explanation, mind you.
I may have hit him with a chair.
Yeah, he was going to get hit with something. But she follows him outside because he's like, oh, I don't have time for this, because it seems like it was going to turn into a big argument. And as she's obviously following him outside the house, yelling and screaming at him as usual, she closes the door, but didn't realize that she trapped her towel in the door. As he speeds off, she's now completely naked. As she tries to run to her house really quickly because she's naked up front, she realizes she's now also locked outside of her house. So now we have to see how Miss Susan is going to figure out how to get back in her home naked. So we're back, and Susan's still naked outside her house, locked out. She tries to manage to make her way, I guess, to the side back of her house, but also realizes her back door is locked and the windows are closed and there's no way inside. And then luckily, guess who comes conveniently out of nowhere? Mike Delfino.
But after she falls in like a shrub.
Yes. So her trying to reach one of the windows, she ends up falling in her shrubbery. And this obviously conveniently censored thanks to NBC or ABC or whatever this aired on. And Mike Delfino comes up and got all her messages to invite her to dinner tonight and is going to accompany her. And I think this is her first date after her divorce, so this is nice. So I think off screen, he ends up helping her into her house. I guess breaks through the screen door. Thank goodness. Because we see them walking up to Bree's house for the dinner party.
Finally,
the dinner party.
How long did that take? Like 30 minutes just to get to the dinner party?
So we see that everybody's there, and Lynette gets a call from Tom because the boys are so rambunctious, and then she just uses the line right back at him. They're just kids. You got it. It'll be fine. And then she goes right back to the party. Susan realizes that Gabrielle has been limping. It's because she's been exercising in heels, and if she's not.
Due to helping that little girl with the bike.
So that she can keep her secret from the affair. She could have just said, I helped the little girl ride her bike today, and I wasn't wearing the proper shoes.
I think everyone saw that. I think that
because
there was no need to lie about that one.
Right. Y'all were literally in the middle of the street. People can see you. I don't know why you lied about something so simple. So just say, I helped the little girl ride her bike today.
And it makes you look good. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, y'all are neighbors. Isn't it the neighborly thing to do? So as we see the dinner party starting, Carlos shows up to the dinner party, thank God, and starts to strike up a conversation with Rex about him and Bree going to tennis. And obviously with the lie, you got to keep up the lie. He's asking questions. He's like, hey, I kind of want to take up tennis and work on this and that. Can you give me the number to the pro you guys are taking lessons from? This dumbass just looks at him, didn't know what else to come up with. I don't know why he didn't just say, hey, ask Bree. She was the one that set up the lessons.
This part of the episode makes me really not like Rex.
Like he
didn't even try.
He didn't even try to figure out what would be the next step, or even like assisted to Bree, because I'm sure she would have come up with some random tennis pro for lessons. But because he couldn't come up with anything else on the fly, he blurts out that they're going to marriage counseling to the entire party. And Bree is in awe and just says, dinner is served.
She drops a, what is it, an hors d'oeuvre plate?
Yeah, she drops some hors d'oeuvres and just says dinner is served, because she is clearly angry, but is not going to visibly show it, that he blurted out their secret. She asked him, can you please just not tell our people, because I'm not ready to let them know yet. And he couldn't even give her the grace to do that. So they all go to dinner. They all go to the table and they're sitting around for dinner. And then we cut to a scene before, they all eat, of Zach
and Paul.
Zach and Paul back at home.
Paul tucks him in, which is kind of cute.
He ends up giving him medication to, I guess, calm him down from how he was feeling, and realizes that the news was on. In the background, the news story is that the trunk that he threw in the lake has been found by a grandson and a grandpa, and that inside the trunk is human remains. What? So yeah, he just threw out a trunk full of human remains into the water. Wow, who knows? What human? Right, who's the remains for? So that's a big old question. Now there's a body involved. Great. And is this even connected to what the hell Mike Delfino is doing? Who fucking knows? But we cut back to the dinner party. Oh, wait, no. Before we go back to dinner party, when Paul leaves the room, we see that Zach wasn't completely asleep. So he did hear the news channel. So he also might do his own investigating. So who knows? But now we get back to the dinner party. And it's obviously an awkward silence because of what just happened. And then Susan decides to break the tension, be like, hey, I was humiliated today because I was naked, trapped outside of my house. And then who else's story? Lynette gives a story about how her and her husband got kicked out of Disney World for basically having sex on one of the rides.
Yeah, them telling their stories is really funny. So yeah, she says, oh yeah, our sons got kicked out of. Susan's like, oh, I was naked all day. Lynette tells her Disneyland story.
And then Gabrielle and Carlos's story is they broke a waterbed in Cancun, which I don't think that's embarrassing at all. That just means having a lot of sex.
I hate people who, when you try to list your weaknesses, they're like, oh, my strength is my weakness. It's like, no.
Yeah, no.
What is your kryptonite?
Yeah, we need to know your kryptonite. Obviously, we're all sharing our kryptonites. What is your kryptonite?
What is your actual, that's not a weakness. Like, what is your actual embarrassing moment?
Yeah. So they're all sharing their embarrassing moments and they're laughing, yucking it up. And then once it dies down, Bree decides to give her embarrassing moment and yells out. Rex cries after he ejaculates.
That was
oh my gosh.
Funny.
Child.
That was so funny.
I hollered because what do you mean you're gonna honestly, this is her get back because you can't embarrass her like you just did after she asked you not to spill anything and not even to drink because clearly you don't know how to hold water or keep your mouth shut. So she feels like you humiliated her, she's gonna humiliate you back. And wow. The way he responded was he just got up and left. Mind you, she stayed in that moment and still continued with the dinner party. You bitch. He's a bitch for that. He's a bitch.
He wants to just kind of give up on their marriage, and she's kind of at the same point in token of appreciation, like
she is trying because she offered, the counseling to put the work into it to not completely give up. And he's just like, I'm done with this. He just left out the house with the keys to go God knows where. I'm sure to probably cheat because damn. Wow. He cries after he ejaculates. Oh my God. I wish she would have said something even more damaging because how are you going to humiliate me and I'm not going to give you the same medicine back? And then you going to get mad? You going to get mad? Whatever. All right, let's see what he did after he ran away like a little bitch. And we're back.
We're back.
So we see Mike Delfino walk Susan home from the dinner party. Obviously, it was cut short early because one of their hosts just abruptly left.
Right.
So they're walking home, and Mike makes a comment about seeing her rage out on her ex-husband earlier, and then obviously I think Susan apologizing was like, hey, I didn't really mean for you to see that, but he just gets me riled up. And I think that's when she realized that she really has to move on in order for him to stop riling her up so much. And then because Mike did see her naked earlier, he compliments her on her figure or just in general how she looks. The compliment he gave her was wow.
Right, about her body.
Which is definitely a confidence booster, especially since she was competing with Miss Edie Britt. So their night ends, and then Lynette comes home.
Right.
And she sees
Tom asleep on the couch.
Find Tom asleep on the couch, defeated, but obviously one of the kids snitched about the cookies. So he kind of knew that he was set up to fail anyway. But they have a discussion. Oh no, she gives him the rundown on how the dinner went and talks about Rex, blowing out the handle and that Bree and Rex's relationship wasn't always peachy keen as everyone thought it was. And then she takes a moment to herself and actually asks her husband, are we happy? And the scene kind of ends there, which I feel is a valid question depending on how long you've been married, because you're kind of just on autopilot and you want to know, like, are you still happy with how we're living our lives, you know?
Yeah, I really liked the conversation before because we get a little insight into, because they are married. Like, out of every couple in the show, they have
a good chemistry.
Their actors have good chemistry. They feel like they're married.
Yes, it feels like a nice family. So then after she asked that question, we cut to Carlos and Gabrielle getting ready for bed. And Carlos, I was giving his 2 cents, saying if he was ever humiliated in such a way, it would be the only time he would ever be humiliated in such a way, which kind of feels like a threat, physical threat.
Like a domestic violence threat?
Some type of threat. So I'm going to need Gabrielle to get a lawyer or something ASAP, because I wouldn't trust what he's saying.
Yeah, this is the kind of part of a movie where you would try to figure out how to kill your husband.
Something like that, or like try to kill him before he kills you type thing.
Yeah.
So when she kind of realizes that like his reaction if he finds out about the affair, we then pan over to the Vanderkamps as Bree is packing for her husband and advising him on which hotels he should be staying at, so it's, you know, more convenient for his job. Then she asks him how we can work this out, or like how did it get this far, because they were like the golden couple in college, and he basically says what is it? He was like, oh, it's because of things like you won't even let me pack my own bag. And I thought that was a bitch thing to say, because at any point you didn't even say thank you for letting her pack her bag. You didn't even intervene and be like, I can pack it myself. Nothing. You kind of just let it happen. You're being a little bitch and then complaining that she did it for you. Like, what is that?
I feel like his anger feels just somewhat misplaced, because it feels like he's mad at himself more than he's mad at her.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels like her thing is that she's going to be this way. Whether or not she was always like this is another question. But if you know she's going to be like this, why do you have to act so cold all the time?
Yeah. Like, obviously she wasn't always this, but you know that she is this now. So why are you acting this way towards her and not just acting against her rather than acting with her? Because you're in a marriage together, and it seems like you're acting against her when you should be working together to try and continue the relationship to build. But it seems like at some point he just gave up and didn't want to keep going anymore. So Rex is officially moved out of the home, and then we see Bree having a moment of silence for herself. The next scene, Carl drops off their daughter as Susan rushes to the car. So this is her come to Jesus moment with Brandy and Carl. And she's like, apology, no apology. Sorry for the way I acted earlier. Yada, yada, yada. Basically explaining her side of things. And it was like, I'm moving on. Goodbye.
And it's so weird. She jumps in the car and says this.
She was like, move over.
And it's a little weird, but I guess it makes sense for the scene.
Yeah, it makes sense. But it works out it works out in her advantage, because Brandy does give her the apology that she's been wanting from Carl. Now, even though she didn't get it from Carl, she still got it from the person that Carl cheated with. So I would say it'd be symbolically, not Carl himself, but symbolically the situation that broke up their marriage was able to give an apology. So Susan has the closure that she's been looking for, which is good. And then we cut back to the Scavos, where Lynette comes in and Tom is being very helpful and taking everything out of her hands.
He literally comes down with the boys watching like a show in their room.
Yes, he comes down and says that the boys are upstairs occupied with a sombrero and some margaritas and try to recreate their own Mexican night, I guess. And she points this out, and he's like, I'm just trying, babe. And even though I feel like he shouldn't have said that, I've kind of just like letting the gesture have said that he's trying. It's kind of good that he said that, because she mentions to him, it's not just this. There's more trying to do in order to fix what we have going on. So as long as he's putting in that effort, especially since, the night before that there was no effort in the previous marriage, that if they're starting to put more effort into their marriage, they'll continue to be successful and live together as long as they need to.
I like them because I like the chemistry between the actors, and you really feel, like I said again, like you really feel that they are married, so you kind of want it to work out just because of that. And you see the kids watching too, and it's kind of cute because it's like you want them to be happy in a way.
Yeah, the scene ends with the kids kind of spying on their parents, having a little slow dance in the living room, and it's nice for kids to see, you know, a healthy relationship, even though there's ups and downs, to be able to see your parents be in love with each other, to know that there is such possibility as like a healthy love, or at least love out there. So it's nice for the kids to be able to see that. And then the next scene, we see Bree rush into the therapist's office to ask for a session, but he's all booked and busy, and she seems desperate because she's like, you have more insight on my relationship than I do, and Rex just moved out, so please, 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 please help me. But, you know, you got to make sure you call ahead of time for appointments because you never know if the person is booked.
Right. And like you said, you never know if the person is booked, and it's inappropriate to do that as well.
Yes, a last minute situation. But she was able to get an appointment for the next day. So as the doctor leaves the room to try to talk to his client, she kind of snoops around in his stuff and notices that he audio records all of his sessions. And then obviously she was trying to find Rex's tape, but she actually ends up seeing Mary Ellis's tape. So she takes that instead and goes home with it. Now, why was Mary Ellis seeing Dr. Goldfine? That's what I want to know.
A little too convenient, but also it's a television show, so
It's got to be convenient for the plot to thicken. But that is the big question here. Why was Mary Ellis seeing Dr. Goldfine? And what the hell is on that tape? We're going to find next episode. But before this episode ended, everyone is at home, and then there's a narration of Mary Ellis, just, you know, talking about fear and how you shouldn't allow it to take over your life, as everyone just seems fearful in general. And then Susan peeps out of her window and notices that Paul is putting up a for sale sign and is trying to sell their home. So it looks like whatever investigation the ladies are doing, it might get put on pause because the family's moving.
Right. We end on him hammering a sign that he's selling the house.
Yeah. Any predictions for the next episode?
Things are about to get crazy.
Things are about to get crazy. Whose remains? I don't know whose remains that is in the thing. And what is Mike Delfino up to? Well, we'll figure out in the next episode. We'll see you next week.